Okay, so when we spoke about castling, we spoke that the main goal of castling is to bring safety to the king. But in some exceptional cases, castling does not bring safety to the king, but it's even dangerous for the king. So we should always analyze the specific position and double check that castling is a good idea or not. Let's start with an example. So in this position it is black to play, and here if black just goes for castling with the move bishop e7, then white might play knight to f3 to develop, and after castling, then white might try an interesting move h4. And the point is that if black now wants to develop with a move like knight to c6 or c5, then white has a very powerful move, which is the move bishop takes h7. And then if black takes the piece, then knight g5 is very strong. And if black takes the knight, after h takes g5, king g8, queen h5, we plan to checkmate here. And after f5, then we have g6, and the king will not escape. Queen h7 or queen to h8 is checkmate. Black has other moves after knight g5 check, but all of them lead to an advantage for white. For example, king g6, then we have h5, sacrificing another piece, and this king is very weak here. And after knight b3, king f5, queen f3 is checkmate. So regardless of all the variations, we see that the king was under attack here after castling. And the main point is that in this position, this bishop is attacking, this knight is getting to the game quickly, and the queen as well, not to mention the rook after taking on g5. So all of the pieces are looking directly or indirectly at the king, whereas the king on e8 was standing much safer. That's why in this position normally black would counterattack on the center, so white has a small space advantage. So here normally black counterattacks in the center, and after white tries to keep the center, black develops a knight. After knight e2 we take, and then black again continues counterattacking the center, and only after we see that black has improved its position, knight f3, bishop d6, and only then we can consider castling, because here we see that this knight is defending on h7 and black has the pieces more coordinated. By the way, this sacrifice on h7 is very typical, but in this case black should not castle or delay castling. Here we have a theoretical position. The position is extremely complicated, so we could spend many hours analyzing it. And here it is black to play, and normally we would try to castle. So let's start analyzing long castle, which is the legal move. And here we could see that white can immediately start attacking or opening lines against the king with b5. So black's king doesn't look safer there. Now if we try to castle short by playing bishop e7, then white might try a5. And after castling, we see that white has lots of pawns looking at the king. So here white can try playing an aggressive move like g5 and launch what we call a pawn storm. And here the idea is to open lines against the king for the rooks or the queen. And after black tries to close the position with h5, then g6 is very strong. The point is that if we take here, then knight takes e6 is very strong. So, although the position is very complex, we could say that by process of elimination, it is probably better to keep the king on the center. So here normally black would start looking for counterplay. Here the move knight b6 is very interesting, looking at this pawn, trying to jump to c4. Also the c file, now that we didn't castle, is open for the rook, so we can put pressure on c2. And the position is very complex, but here not castling is better. But also there are other cases in which castling is more optional. So in this position, it is also black to play, and the queens have been exchanged. Only 9 moves have been played. Black's king is safe, so black would castle. That makes a lot of sense as well. But also black might consider a move like king to e7. And the point is that if we keep on exchanging pieces, then this king is going to be more active here because it's just closer to the center. Now I wanted to show you this position, and normally in this position white would play knight to c3, knight to f3, develop. But an idea is to play the move h4. In fact, this was played between two very strong players. This is not conventional at all. But one of the ideas is to open the h-file and have an active rook on the h-file, and maybe the king will come to f1 or g1 after white moves the pieces, or maybe castle long. But here white is not castling. This is not necessarily good for white, but it's something different. And after bishop g7, knight to c3, then castling I think is perfectly possible, but here we would make white's plan more logical. So that's why we could try something different, delaying castling, in order to play against the opponent's plan. So here in this position black played the move d5, and this is a typical idea. When someone plays on one side of the board, we normally can play on the other side of the board. And in the end black castled, but only 25 moves later, but black still got a perfectly good position. So just to conclude, remember that safety is the main point, not castling. So in some rare cases, castling is bad and we need to avoid it. But these are very exceptional cases. In most cases, just double check. If there's no direct attack, then castling is a good idea. And in some cases, when there's no danger for the king, castling is optional.